introductory note on Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche died in 1900 at the dawn of the new century, and since then many people have seen something significant in the date. For as the century progressed, Nietzsche's work, largely ignored in his own day, became increasingly well known. Indeed, in the past 50 years, at least, Nietzsche's work has grown so influential that it is associated with many of the most important trends of modern thought, not merely in philosophy, but in a very wide range of subjects. So much so that it is almost impossible to participate in modern intellectual discussions without some familiarity with his writings. Nietzsche was born in 1844 in Röcken bei Lützen in Prussia. After graduating from school, he studied classical philology at universities in Bonn and Leipzig, and in 1869 took up a position as professor of classical philology at Basel. After serving as a medical orderly during the Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871, he began to suffer from a number of serious ailments, which a few years later became so serious he had to resign his position at Basel. For most of the rest of his life, Nietzsche lived as an independent writer, traveling a great deal throughout Europe, mainly in Italy and Switzerland, publishing several books, including Beyond Good and Evil in 1886, and republishing some of the writings from his university days. His work, however, received relatively little attention. In 1889, Nietzsche began to suffer from a serious mental deterioration. His friends and family took charge of him, especially his sister Elizabeth, but he never regained his sanity and died after a bout of pneumonia 10 years later. Interpreting Nietzsche makes special demands, mainly because he presents his ideas not in a rational, systematic way traditionally associated with philosophical writing, but as a series of aphorisms combined with energetic and frequently very sweeping assertions. He is very fond of poetical images and enigmatic questions. He typically offers his thoughts in sequences of numbered paragraphs, but the connections between these are frequently difficult to understand. As a result, his argument is often ambiguous and requires further interpretation, as he himself points out. In addition, Nietzsche has a unique tone, by turns serious, sarcastic, scathing, friendly, humorous, assertive, self-deprecating, candid, secretive, admiring, cryptic, and dismissive. Given this shifting and frequently ambiguous style, it is often difficult to tell just how one is supposed to take a particular statement or interpret a particular image. The central thrust of Nietzsche's thinking in Beyond Good and Evil is, however, clear enough. He is launching an assault on traditional European thinking about morality. In his view, past attempts to define the truth about morality have been superficial, because the philosophers proposing various systems have all started by assuming the essential points which need to be explored at the outset, and because they have been seduced into error by the nature of language, by their own unconscious motivation, and by their limited understanding of the history of moral thinking. Prologue. Nietzsche makes his intentions clear in the opening prologue, in which he announces the death of all philosophical dogmatism, that is, all systems of thinking which claim absolute truth. These, he asserts, have been simple, childish games based on erroneous assumptions and ignorance. Plato is especially culpable in his invention of the good as such, something Christianity borrowed and popularized. However, the attempt to combat these claims has created a splendid tension in the European spirit, which makes possible new and better directions, at least for a few.
Suppose truth is a woman. What then? Wouldn't we have good reason to suspect that all philosophers, insofar as they were dogmatists, had a poor understanding of women? That the dreadful seriousness and the awkward pushiness with which they so far have habitually approached truth were clumsy and inappropriate ways to win over a woman. It's clear that truth did not allow herself to be won over. Woo! Forms of dogmatism nowadays are standing there dismayed and disheartened, if they're standing at all. For there are mockers who assert that they've collapsed, that all dogmatisms are lying on the floor, even worse, that they're at death's door. Speaking seriously, there are good reasons to hope that all dogmatism in philosophy, no matter how solemnly, conclusively and decisively it has conducted itself, has been merely a noble and rudimentary childish game, and the time is perhaps very close at hand when people will again and again understand just how little has sufficed to provide the foundation stones for the lofty and unconditional philosophical constructions of the sort dogmatists have erected up to now. Any popular superstition from unimaginably long ago, like the superstition of the soul, which today, in the form of the superstition about the subject and the ego, has still not stopped stirring up mischief. Perhaps some game with words, a seduction by some grammatical construction, or a daring generalization from very narrow, very personal, very human, all to human facts. The philosophies of the dogmatists were, one hopes, only a promise which lasted for thousands of years, as the astrologers were in even earlier times. In their service, people expended more work, gold, and astute thinking than for any real scientific knowledge up to that point. We owe to them and their super-terrestrial claims the grand style of architecture in Asia and Egypt. It seems that in order for all great things to register their eternal demands on the human heart, they first have to wander over the earth as monstrously and frighteningly distorted faces. Dogmatic philosophy has been such a grimace. For example, the Vedanta doctrine in Asia and Platonism in Europe. We must not be ungrateful for it, even though we must also concede the truth that the worst, most protracted and most dangerous of all errors up to now has been the error of a dogmatist, namely Plato's invention of the purely spiritual and of the good as such. But now that has been overcome, and as Europe breathes a sigh of relief after this nightmare and at least can enjoy a more healthy sleep, those of us whose task it is to stay awake are the inheritors of all the forces which the fight against this error has fostered. To speak of the spirit and the good in this way, as Plato did, was of course a matter of standing truth on its head, and even of denying the basic condition of all life, perspective. Indeed, one could, as a doctor, ask, how did such a disease get to Plato, the most beautiful plant of antiquity? Did the evil Socrates really corrupt him? Could Socrates have been a corrupter of youth after all? Did he deserve his hemlock? But the fight against Plato, or to put matter in a way more intelligible to the people, the fight against the thousands of years of pressure from the Christian church, for Christianity is Platonism for the people, created in Europe a splendid tension in the spirit, something unlike anything seen on earth before. With such a tensely arched bow, from now on we can shoot for the most distant targets. Naturally, European man experiences this tension as a state of emergency. Already there have been 2 attempts in the grand style to ease the tension in the bow. The first time with Jesuitism, the second time with democratic enlightenment, through which, with the help of the freedom of the press and reading newspapers, a state might, in fact, be attained in which the spirit itself is not so easily experienced as need. Germans invented gunpowder or monotone, but they made up for that when they invented the printing press. But those of us who are neither Jesuits, nor Democrats, nor even German enough, we good Europeans and free, very free spirits, we still have the need, the entire spiritual need, and the total tension of its bow. And perhaps we also have the arrow, the work to do, and, who knows, the target. Sils Maria Oberengadin, June 1885.
Part 1. On the prejudices of philosophers. In Part 1, on the prejudices of philosophers, Nietzsche launches his attack on traditional philosophy, and in the process offers some of his most incisive and influential insights. For a start, he questions the basic assumptions philosophers make. Who says that there is an opposition between truth and falsity, or between different values like good and evil? How do we know that appearance, deception, and falsity are not more valuable in human life than whatever it is we call truth? Philosophers have all assumed the answers to these questions when they should have paused before simply accepting what they or their society wanted to believe. In this opening discussion, Nietzsche makes the apparently startling claim that because something is not true does not mean it might not be valuable, since human beings need constant falsification of the world in order to live as human beings. Such falsifications are essential because we have no text of the world, no way of accessing directly the truth of things. All we have are various interpretations, which give us different perspectives on the world. Such perspectives are all false. They are foreground beliefs, but human living requires such falsification. These remarks, Nietzsche points out in what has turned out to be a highly influential and contested claim, apply as much to science as to any other belief system, even to our belief in cause and effect. Moreover, the perspectives provided by philosophers stem from their unconscious desires. In effect, they create a system which answers to their unconscious needs, and then invent the reasons after the fact, and proclaim that they have discovered the truth. Once their system is in place, they demand the world answer to it, to their truth. But they have not discovered the truth. They have merely invented a new interpretation of the truth, one more foreground perspective. Here, Nietzsche is applying his extremely subtle understanding of human psychology to unmask the truth claims philosophers make. And it's worth noting just how astute Nietzsche's command of modern psychological ideas is. And this is well before the work of Sigmund Freud. This astuteness is clear too in Nietzsche's discussion of thinking and willing, his dismissal of immediate certainty, and of the free and unfree will. Philosophers have assumed they know that thinking and willing are simple, voluntary activities governed by an I, an error encouraged by the accidental characteristics of grammar. But the simplest introspection reveals that this basic assumption does not answer to the facts. And the existence of the personal pronoun I in our grammar is no sufficient reason for establishing the truth of the soul, or the autonomous agent of thinking and willing. Nietzsche ends this section by paying tribute to the importance of psychology once it has freed itself from moral beliefs. Before making assertions about what the human mind is and how it works, philosophers from now on will need to understand the full complexity of what they are talking about.
1. The will to truth, which is still going to tempt us to many a daring exploit, that celebrated truthfulness which all philosophers up to now have spoken with respect. What questions this will to truth has already set down before us? What strange, serious, dubious questions? There is already a long history of that, and yet it seems that this history has scarcely begun. Is it any wonder that we finally become mistrustful, lose patience, and, in our impatience, turn ourselves around and learn from this Sphinx to ask questions ourselves? Who is really asking us questions here? What is it in us that really wants the truth? In fact, we paused for a long time before the question about the origin of this will, until we finally remained completely and utterly immobile in front of an even more fundamental question. We asked about the value of this will. Suppose we want truth, why should we not prefer untruth and uncertainty, even ignorance? The problem of the value of truth stepped up before us, or are we the ones who stepped up before the problem? Who among us here is Oedipus? Who is the Sphinx? It seems to be a tryst between questions and question marks. And was it possible to believe that we are finally the ones to whom it seems as if the problem has never been posed up to now, as if we are the first ones to see it, to fix our eyes on it, and to dare confront it? But there is a risk involved in this. Perhaps there is no greater risk. 2. How could something arise out of its opposite? For example, truth out of error, or the will to truth out of the will to deception, or selfless action out of self-seeking, or the pure, sunny look of the wise man out of greed. Origins like these are possible. Anyone who dreams about them is a fool, even worse. Things of the highest value must have another appropriate origin. They cannot be derived from this ephemeral, seductive, deceptive, trivial world. Madness and desire. Their basis must lie, by contrast, in the womb of being, in the immortal, in hidden gods, in the thing in itself, and nowhere else. This way of shaping an opinion creates the typical prejudice which enables us to recognize once more the metaphysicians of all ages. This way of establishing values stands behind all their logical procedures. From this belief of theirs, they wrestle with their knowledge, with something which is finally, in all solemnity, christened the truth. The fundamental belief of the metaphysicians is the belief in the opposing nature of values. Even the most careful among them has never had the idea of raising doubts right here on the threshold, where such doubts are surely most essential.
Still road construction.
Believing de omnibus jubitandum, which is necessary.
But that area needs it. I have actually lost tires on that section. My car is a hatchback, and so I went over this particularly large pothole that must have been caused by ISIS mortar fire or something of the kind, and my tire exploded, literally. You could like hear the air escaping from the tire in the vehicle. But luckily, since I'm so close to my house, I could just turn around and get right back over there, which kind of leads me on the next question, which is like, where the fuck does our tax dollar, where the fuck do our tax dollars go in this town? I've been paying property taxes since 2013. It's Abilene, Texas, by the way. If you see this fucking video and you don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't go to the roads. Look at them. Look at this uncivilized, no fucking drainage, like it's 1900 and shit. In Deadwood, right? That's basically what I moved into here. Asinine. We barely have a police force here. They're pretty decent. I know we have a fire department. So, I guess people in our city council are taking the money and snorting it off high-class escorts' asses. Basically, or using it, rolling it up and using it to snort things off high-class escorts. Probably not high-class, just probably just some crackheads from First Street, just repeatedly used, I guess, to rack up a good tally. That's how it works. And we're probably not talking cocaine, we're probably talking meth, because that's what this town loves. Family values, Christian values. Just, those Christian family values happen to include methamphetamine, cheating, and, yeah. A lot of people on the down low, you know what I'm saying with that. Fucking entertaining to live in this town. See, if you step outside of it, and you just look at the video, it's a pretty decent little shithole. But it's like a black hole of human ambitions and hopes. There actually are some pretty outstanding people here, which I've recently met, but they're not from here. You can't be exceptional and be from this town. There are people that came from elsewhere. Because the colleges here are quite stupid. The private schools, basically, that exist so that Tom and Mary can send little Lucille to a Christian school so she can be continually indoctrinated into their confused, erroneous metaphysics, with their confused, erroneous interpretations of ancient scriptures they don't read in the actual original languages, and so forth. And little Lucille can still violate their definitions of morality behind their back. It's quite strange. It's a strange little town. Actually, there are periodic purges of people who are homosexual at these universities. They spy on one another. If you've been to bars, stuff like that, just quite bizarre. It's very backward. In fact, if you want your faith in humanity ever lower, just read a local news article, which can be the most innocuous thing you will ever imagine. Go into the comments section. Immediately understand that no one here has an education. No one here knows anything. And also, look at them cry that the paper is supposedly this huge liberal media outlet, and there's literally no evidence for that anywhere. Boy, howdy, these goddamn liberals. You know, that's all I fucking hear. President Trump's so good to us. MAGA. You know, that's what I fucking hear. Got all these goddamn minorities getting all uppity. That's literally what the comment section is, but it's dressed up in modern language so that they can get away with being racist because you can't drop the N-bomb anymore. So they're gonna say something else. Pretty impoverished. You know, I've got like $50,000 in net worth. It's not much. It's not even much to brag about, but it's not bad for where I came from. But yeah, the town's wages are pretty low. You're gonna make like maybe 30, 35K working here a year. So what the fuck is this? Can I get in my fucking drive? Fuck. What's this motherfucker up to? Because it ain't no good. Jesus Christ.
Consequently, I don't believe that a drive to knowledge is the father of philosophy, but that knowledge and misunderstanding have functioned only as a tool for another drive, here as elsewhere. But whoever explores the basic drives of human beings in order to see how far they may have carried their game as inspiring geniuses, will find that all drives have already practiced philosophy at some time or another, and that every single one of them has all too gladly liked to present itself as the ultimate purpose of existence and the legitimate master of all the other drives. For every drive seeks mastery and, as such, tries to practice philosophy. Of course, with scholars, men of real science...
So how does this fucking intersection make any kind of goddamn sense? Like, when we're designing streets, we're not looking for non-Euclidean geometry that we find in Lovecraft. We're actually looking for, you know, the Decamanus, like a straight fucking north-south, straight east-west road, maybe laid out a grid like the Romans could do back in the day. Real basic stuff. But you were studying Jesus instead of your actual civil engineering, so you didn't understand that. You'll notice the lack of street lighting I would hate to see a study on how that increases crime rates. Abilene has a lot of crime. Actually, not that safe. Alright, so this fucking faggot in this keep, man. Fucking Jesus Christ. Fucking Jesus Christ. I want to fucking kill this guy. Oh my fucking God. Go the speed limit, you know? Just... fucking piece of shit.
Living, isn't that precisely a will to be something different from what this nature is? Isn't living appraising, preferring, being unjust, being limited, wanting to be different? And if your imperative, live according to nature, basically means what amounts to live according to life, why can't you just do that? Why make a principle out of what you yourselves are and must be? The truth of the matter is quite different. While you pretend to be in raptures as you read the canon of your law out of nature, you want something which is the reverse of this, you weird actors and self-deceivers. Your pride wants to prescribe to and incorporate nature, this very nature, into your morality, your ideal. You demand that nature be in accordance with the Stoa, and you like to make all existence merely living in accordance with your own image of it, as a huge and eternal glorification and universalizing of Stoicism. With all your love of truth, you have forced yourselves for such a long time and with such persistence and hypnotic rigidity to look at nature falsely, that is, stoically, until you're incapable of seeing nature as anything else anymore. And some abysmal arrogance finally inspires you with the lunatic hope that because you know how to tyrannize over yourselves, Stoicism is self-tyranny, nature also allows herself to be tyrannized. Is the Stoic then not a part of nature? But this is an ancient, eternal story. What happened then with the Stoics is still happening today, as soon as a philosophy begins to believe in itself. It always creates a world in its own image. It cannot do anything different. Philosophy is this tyrannical drive itself, the spiritual will to power, to a creation of the world, to the causa prima, first cause. 10. The enthusiasm and the delicacy, I might even say the cunning, with which people everywhere in Europe today go at the problem of the true and the apparent world, make one think and listen. And whoever hears...
Oh man, fucking neighbors right here with the barbecue are a fucking mess. goddamn garbage fire people.
Subtle will to drink some
Fucking firebomb the shit out of that house.
and then the physical animation of the whole isolated coast may really be involved. Something which in the end always still
The house over here.
certainty to an entire wagon full of possibilities. There may even be Puritan
What the hell is this?
who prefer to lie
Talking about the cat, not the people.
certain nothing than on an uncertain something. But this is nihilism, and the indication